Imagine the power to create worlds and bring characters to life. That's the realm of comic book artists. My name is Ray Raynette, and welcome to Farlook Studios. I'm a self-published comic book writer and illustrator, and today we'll talk about things that helped me improve and create the comic of my dreams. Don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel for more secrets, and go check out and read my comic book series, Junket, Hidden Worlds Revealed, only on Amazon. Now back to the video.
The brains and the creativity of one man lie behind all these characters and more. The Fantastic Four, the Hulk, Spider-Man, Thor, Doctor Strange, the X-Men, the Avengers, Daredevil, Nick Fury, the Silver Surfer. If you don't know them, then your kids do. And if your kids don't know them, then I wonder if they're really learning about the world as they ought to learn about it. Would you welcome, please, a superhero of the comic book business from Marvel Comics,
Here's Mr. Stan
Lee.
The Man
Be assured that you're not going to tear off your bland external clothing and leap out in full regalia with a hood over your face.
If I tear it off, we'll all be arrested. I didn't bring my costume tonight. I'm sorry.
Stan Lee, the legendary co-creator of Spider-Man, the Fantastic Four, and the X-Men, is one of the most influential figures in the history of comics. Today we'll be exploring the lessons that aspiring comic book artists and writers can learn from Lee's career. Stan Lee creates memorable characters. Lee had a knack for creating relatable and iconic characters, and he would develop them with unique personalities, backstories, and flaws. He would always be able to emphasize the human aspect of these figures and not only lean solely on the superpower. He made sure to emphasize all of their everyday problems. The Fantastic Four went bankrupt, Spider-Man had girl problems, and the Thing was just a monster trying to fit in. Again, Stan Lee would lean heavily on the idea of them being somewhat more realistic. The characters over at DC Universe were basically perfect human beings, and it was really not realistic. No one could really relate to Batman or Superman or any of these characters because they were just so idealized, right? Whereas in the Marvel characters, they feel more grounded in reality. Honestly, that's what really helped Stan Lee's characters resonate with the audience. He understood that the audience is not dumb, and he wants to educate them with proper language and with actual characters that are compelling, because if he was entertaining himself as he wrote, then obviously the audience would be entertained as well. So whenever you're creating or writing down something, make sure that you are not only engaging with the writing itself or with the words or with the design of the character, but make sure it feels grounded, it feels real. You have to humanize that which is unknown. You have to humanize that which is an icon and a symbol, and bring them back down into a humble, just human being with flaws and characteristics. Lee was a master storyteller, and he would be crafting narratives that resonated with readers of all ages. So he would always focus on engaging plots with strong themes of character arcs. He would always bring in diverse villains to fight against his heroes, and ultimately, it would be a battle between pride and the selfless. We have to always realize that these characters portray almost mythological beings in modern times. Even though they are distilled down and more simplified versions of these original myths, we have to remember that these core ideas and moral values are still bestowed within them. Stan Lee often collaborated with talented artists like Jack Kirby and Steve Ditko, and he had to learn to effectively work with other creators in order to bring his stories to life. He would always make sure that he gives them the ideas as well-rounded as he possibly could before they went on and brought it to fruition. Stan Lee would be one of the innovators of something called the Marvel method of writing comics. Oftentimes, Lee would find himself overworked and overwhelmed by the amount of books that had to be cranked out by the month. So, he developed a style of writing where it would be more of a verbal confirmation between the artist and himself. They would have a basic summary, they would go back and forth talking about ideas and developing the characters, and from the blueprint that they've established, the artist would then go on and develop and draw the entire book, and Lee would later add the words to it, making sense of it. Oftentimes, artists would either take away or add on to the story as they liked, and Lee would be okay with that because he just wanted to give other artists more opportunities to work and to really just try different things as he developed. We have to always learn to keep this in mind in terms of writing and drawing. Whenever we're making a story, sometimes we go into it and we have this fixed mindset of, oh, this is how it needs to be, this is going to be how many pages, how many books. I believe that the art is actually better produced when it flows from us in a natural way. If we don't keep it locked in this rigid sense, we have more freedom to actually develop the ideas and let the characters and storytelling lead us to the conclusion that is best needed and the one that best fits the mold. So don't be so rigid whenever you're writing down these concepts or these scripts. Just kind of give it this flow state, be more flexible when you're actually getting the work done. The way that Stan Lee really brought his characters to life wasn't only just by humanizing them, but also by bringing a sense of light and humor to them. The stories were often filled with humor and heart, so we have to learn to use humor and emotion to really connect with the audience. We have to learn to actually evaluate what it is that we want to hear. These are words that are going to be read by thousands, and what is the message you want to convey to your reader? What is it that you want to bestow upon them? What is it that you want to enlighten them with? What do you want them to have in mind after reading the book? I oftentimes think about the purpose and the messages of the words that I actually use and what it is that I'm actually evoking when I use them. We have to be careful not to tap into something that might be negative or that might be judgmental or that might kind of make our audience feel as though we're belittling them. Stan Lee would instead give us something that made us more inspired and made us feel that we could potentially even be the superheroes within the stories. Even though it's this otherworldly concept, they gave us a perspective that really simplified our own core values and our own mission towards success. Along the way, characters will fall, they'll stumble, they'll be broken, they'll be beaten, and they'll always, no matter what, rise up again. That is one of the most important things, where we could see that idea echoed throughout all of the stories that Stan Lee writes, and he's been able to motivate and inspire readers worldwide with simple lines such as, "With great power comes great responsibility." This is a line that has been retold thousands of times and never really was intended to be that way. He simply was writing what he felt. Eventually, in the back pages of the comics, he would even have his own section called Stan's Soapbox, where he would actively write things that he had in his mind and things that he believed should be written and published into the world. Oftentimes, it would actually be advocating for minorities or actually advocating for the little voices in the audience. He would always be in support against the big oppressors, and he would be always against bigotry and always against all of the evil and corruption in the world. And I believe that a little honest message of one's true beliefs should always be sprinkled in order to not simply be this filtered, mass-produced media. Stan Lee was always able to sew in a little bit of himself within his work, and that is something that has echoed throughout his entire career from start to finish. Lee was always successfully building this personal brand around his work. He would always write, "Stan Lee Presents." He would always be the face of the company. Most people really thought that he single-handedly made everything, but no, he was just a writer. But he was such a good promoter, such a good man on screen, such a good speaker that he would actively make people be drawn to him. He would always engage his audience and interact with his fans. And he would always, through the social media and the conventions, he would always advocate and support all of the creators out there and all of the people who wanted to be bigger than they were. That is the whole point. That is the whole concept of his characters, right? These, simple Spider-Man, just a kid, a nobody who's just in school and bullied and all that stuff. But Spider-Man wasn't limited by his human qualities, because he could always be more and he could always take on the brunt of his responsibilities and become bigger than life. An everyday human being could be a hero if they really needed to be. Stan Lee always loved that Steve Ditko had illustrated Spider-Man with a full mask because that allowed for the reader to place themselves in Spider-Man's shoes. That's probably why he believed Spider-Man sold the best, and honestly, I believe it is true. Nowadays, we see how Spider-Man has taken the world by storm, such as Into the Spider-Verse, where Spider-Man's mask symbolizes not just one human being, but an entire universe of people, symbolizing that anyone from anywhere can become Spider-Man. Stan Lee faced numerous challenges throughout his career, but never gave up on his dreams. So we have to learn to persevere through setbacks and continue to strive for success. You have to just be yourself. Stan Lee was always true to himself and his unique vision, so don't be afraid to be authentic and express your individuality and inspire others. His work has inspired countless people to pursue their creative passions, so use your art to bring the world closer together and to inspire those around it to strive for greatness.
Okay, listen, I want to talk about some of the superheroes that you're working with now with Marvel Comics, because when I was a kid, when you were a kid, there was Captain Marvel and Superman and Batman and Green Lantern, and all those people were all perfect. Right?
Well, they were perfect in the sense of the characters they were portraying, but we tried to bring comics a little more into the real world. You know, I shouldn't really say this, but the chances are that possibly even you and I aren't perfect. We tried to make our characters have feet of clay. Now, poor Spider-Man. I mean, okay, he's pretty good at catching bad guys, but he's apt to get an allergy attack while he's fighting. He worries about dandruff. He'll have an ingrown toenail, tears his costume. His Aunt May won't let him go out to save the world because he's not wearing his galoshes and it's snowing out. And the funny thing is, I started doing that as a gag and really to keep myself awake, you know. And I found that the readers are as crazy as I am. They started enjoying this sort of thing. So after 20 years of writing pap and writing things like the strips you mentioned before, I suddenly realized, gee, I can actually have fun with what I'm doing. And now, the more realistic we make our characters, the more the college kids who read them think that it's satire, which has taught me a very great lesson. The world is so crazy that if you present things the way they really are, it comes across as broad satire. And our books at Marvel Comics, if I may say that, because people may have forgotten, our books at Marvel Comics...
I've said it twice already, and once in introducing your books where?
Every couple of minutes, you promised.
Okay.
We try to be very scientific and very accurate about everything we do. Now, for example, I can't have Spider-Man flying through the air like certain other guys who wear capes and big letters on their chest. So I wanted to be scientific about it. So he shoots webbing out from a little wrist thing he has, and he can shoot at any distance. There could be a building a mile away. Somehow it hits the building, sticks to the building. He swings on it like Tarzan. Perfectly scientific and logical. And that's why our books are beloved by science students and professors and the like.
Thank you guys so much for watching. My name is Ray Net from Farlook Studios. Please go check out my self-published comics on Amazon titled Junket Hidden Worlds Revealed. I've already released issues 1, 2, 3, and 4 are on the way. So please go check them out on Amazon and let me know what you think in the comments below. I've also opened a spread shop of all of my drawings and all of my icons and logos that you could buy and represent the Farlook Studios brand. Remember, Farlook represents looking far into the future and thinking ahead and having vision. I will be immensely grateful for any of the love and support that you guys provide. And please go like, follow, subscribe, everything. Go follow me on Instagram at RayRayNet, where you can see updates of me working behind the scenes on my projects, where I single-handedly create my own comic books. And if you haven't seen the other videos, go check out the How to Make a Comic Book series and the top 10 secrets that most artists don't know. So, to all the artists who are listening, go out there and create the impact that you want to leave behind. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.